You go into an airport and they have metal detectors, they have metal scanners. If you have a gun, it's definitely going to show up because it's made of metal. Imagine I have a fully functional 3D printed plastic gun. I can just smuggle it under my bag, go to whichever country I want. I've got all the weapons I want. This is the dark side of 3D printing, right? ATM skimming. That picture tell you a story? Can someone tell me what ATM skimming is? I hear two voices. Can I hear just one voice with a hand up? Perfect. Excellent. Perfect. Your name, sir? Karthik. Okay. Excellent, Karthik. ATM skimming has been around for quite a long time now. It's just about having a device that you attach to an ATM machine. It actually looks like a genuine part of the ATM itself. So when someone plugs their card in, this particular device will actually read the card details, your track number, whatever's on the magnetic stripe behind your card, or if it's a chip card, whatever's there on your chip. It reads this. The guy who actually stuck this into the ATM machine, he should be within a 100-meter range of the ATM with his computer, laptop, everything set up. The device transmits these details over to him. He just has to be within a 100-meter range of the ATM, that's it. The next thing he would be interested in looking at is the PIN that this guy keys into the ATM. I need the PIN also. It's not very difficult for me to guess the PIN. It's just a 4-digit number. I might be having applications to generate this. I can try brute force. But if this guy is actually keying it into there, all I need is a camera, a pinhole camera that comes with my ATM skimmer. And this camera will actually record the PIN that he keys into the keypad and sends it over to me. Or it can be a pad like this, a fake keypad, like this one right here. Stick it on top of the actual keypad. It's like a key logger. So when you see people at ATM machines actually covering, the keypad when they type in their pins, before I knew about this, I thought these people are just being paranoid. Fact is, they are not. They are just being careful. You might want to actually cover, because in case there's a camera recording what you're doing, and ATM machines do have cameras, you know that. You might want to cover the keypad as you key in your PIN. This is a technology that has been around, as I said earlier. ATM skimmers have been around for a while. What 3D printing is doing to this technology right now is it's making it easier. Every bank has its own ATM machine. An SBI skimmer will not work on an ICICI skimmer. Right? As a hacker, I want to be able to actually grow across various banks. I want to be able to use my device on multiple ATMs quickly, because scalability is an issue for me as well, right? 3D printing makes it easier for me. I can just quickly design the template, quickly manufacture it. It just makes my process automation faster, more efficient. If I'm a crook, I would definitely want a 3D printer. What about keys? Your house keys, right? All this while I was just worried about losing my keys and someone finding them. Now I have to be worried about someone even seeing my keys. All it takes is a couple of photographs of my keys. People can actually make an STL template using the photos. They can generate a 3D printed key like that. It can be my car key, it can be my house key, it can be anything. All right, so things are not going to be as secure as they were in the past once 3D printing takes off. Especially in India, where there's a lot of people who actually lock their shops using just keys. We don't have electronic locking systems so much. What's next? 6 million parts that go into a Boeing 747. The way I knew that was I watched Mega Factories last week. Anybody seen that? Nope. Excellent. They were making Boeing. They showed us how they make Boeing, and they said there's 6 million parts that go into one particular piece of aircraft. I shouldn't say piece of aircraft. One aircraft has 6 million parts. Some moving, some not moving, some fixed, whatever. But what if one of those parts is a 3D printed fake? We've had so many cases of flight disasters over the past few years. MH370, we don't want to get into those. What if we're only going to add on to this crisis? If one of the suppliers is actually using a 3D printer to quickly make these parts and actually supply them over to the aircraft manufacturer, whether it's Boeing or whoever it is. That is one case. Yes. Okay, I'll more. Thanks. Counterfeit coins. I thought I had more time. Counterfeit coins, fake ID cards, fake ID cards. You guys have your ID cards? This was asked you in the morning as well. But you do have ID cards, right? I still have mine, in fact. You do. 3D printing makes it easy for me to fake your ID card, make one for myself. And by the way, the world's first fully 3D printed car is actually on its way. One of my friends in Cognizant actually gave me a reference to this. And I pulled it out. Local Motors is a company that's actually trying to make fully functional 3D printed cars. So what I want you to know is this technology is actually picking on way, way faster than you're even aware of. Solutions, to be honest, I'm going to put my hands up. I don't know. There's no solutions as of now is what I think, because technology is just going to go on and on at a very fast pace. And controls are yet to catch on. It's really going to be difficult to see how implications are going to turn out. Wearables, I have a lot more slides. I'm going to have to speed up. Anybody recognize this? Anybody born after 1995? No? All of us are born before 95? Okay. Wow, you guys are really young. When I was in 6th standard, the cool guy in class had this watch. It was in 95, 94, something, 96. It's a calculator watch. Yes, it's a watch that tells you the time and helps you to add 2 and 2 at any time you want, right? So it was one of the earlier forms of wearable devices. Today, how do we understand wearables? This is my own definition, my own interpretation. It's a little bit of a portable piece of computing device. It can be worn on or inside a user's body. The reason is, we'll come to that. It can also be a part of your body itself. What's common to all wearables is this particular definition. Portable devices, you can either carry them or you can actually incorporate them in your body. Everybody think of Iron Man? That's what it is. Sorry? Hear something? Okay. What's different is primary function. It can be a smart glass, like Google Glass. Vuzix has a bunch of smart glasses. We'll be talking about those if time permits. Smart watches, smart pills. Capability of the device, that is where I would be concerned from a privacy perspective. What can this device do? What level of PII, personally identifiable information, does this device have access to? Does it have a camera? Does it keep me alive? Does it make calls? Does it connect to the internet? These are kind of questions you should be looking at. These are the 3 most common categories of wearables today: smart glasses, fitness bands, and smart watches. Anybody has a fitness band around here? Excellent. I see 1, 2. 2 hands. Perfect. So the fitness band is something that actually tells you how far you've run, how many calories you burnt, your heart rate, those kind of things is what you get as of today. But don't think this is all the data that you can get today. There are more advanced versions of wearables, and I'm going to skip quickly to those. For a personal user, from a wearables context, privacy is what you should be concerned about. From an organizational perspective, security. And let's move quickly. This slide's fine. Can someone recognize what device we're talking about here? I've written it here. Anyway, Google Glass. Right? We all know the story. It had to be called out sometime early this year, January 2015. The reason is, particularly in my opinion, privacy. People were not comfortable when someone around them was actually using a Google Glass, and they were kind of paranoid about whether they were being recorded or what's happening. The reason is, what I think is Google actually emphasized functionality and put privacy in the back door. That's what I think. And that's probably the reason things took off in a very bad direction for Google Glass. It had to be shut down. The next question is in terms of security. As I said, from an organizational perspective, more than privacy, it's about security. Now today in an organization, everybody is allowed to carry their phones, depending on which part of the organization you're inside. If I'm in a data center, I might have to leave my phone outside. If I'm in a general working area, I will have to carry my phone inside. I would be allowed to do that. How hard is it for me to take a photo of my screen and WhatsApp it out to my friends? It's not something that is not done. There are incidents where people actually do this, and if they get caught, they do get into trouble. But the issue with wearables is, it's not difficult. It's very difficult to see if someone is actually taking a photo. Google Glass lets you take a photo at the blink of an eye. All you need to do is blink twice, I think. It takes a photo. Next level of wearables, as I said, these devices can also be inside your body, a little bit like Iron Man. Now that's a 6-year-old little girl called Jia Bhavishi, and she was having some hearing issues. They did this particular process called auditory brainstem implant, which consisted of a mic, which is stuck to her ear, and an implant in her brain, the part of the brain that actually processes sound signals. So the mic picks up the sound, and the chip inside her brain actually processes it. This little girl was actually able to hear. That is a wearable device. There's this particular thing called digital pills, developed by this company called Proteus. And this is something that's actually picking on this kind of technology. All you need to do is swallow the pill. It's a digital pill. It's a sensor. And what it does is, it goes through your body. It tracks your body's stats. And typically for senior citizens, this is something they want to have a tab on a daily basis, on a continuous basis. It actually sends out these stats over to a patch that you have to wear on your skin. That's what you see over here. And you can also look at your data in terms of an app on your Android or iPhone or whatever it is. So these are 3 devices that actually talk to each other. So this is what is called an ingestible, and this is what is called an implantable. Okay, so wearables is actually getting into your human body as well. It's not something you just carry and go to work and come back. Technology is taking it in this direction. What are the security threats? Now that's Dick Cheney, the US Vice President, former. Right? And there was a case where he has a pacemaker installed in his body, and his doctors are actually worried about hackers could actually get into this particular device and stop it from functioning. His life would be at threat, would be at stake. So this is one of the threat scenarios that we had to look at. This is actually recreated in one of these TV series, Homeland. Okay, so securing wearable technologies, it has to come from all ends. The people who are making these devices have to let the users know what kind of privacy compromises they are being pushed into, what kind of privacy controls they'll have to give up once you're into this, into actually using one of these forms of technology. And also organizations should understand the risks. This is where risk assessment would come into picture. As I said earlier, this is where I specialize in terms of risk assessments. For example, if I'm allowing phones in a particular room, but I'm banning wearables, I'll have to understand, does it really make sense? All that the wearable does is take photos, and someone can do that using their phones itself. So that's where I have to look at things from a risk perspective. And lastly, the Internet of Things. Right, so as I said earlier, any look at new technology will have to also touch upon the IoT. What is it? I think you should be knowing from yesterday by now. This is my own version of it. We have a lot of devices operating today. 5 minutes more, please. 5 minutes, thanks. We have a lot of devices operating today in their own little worlds. That's what it is. We have cars with their own, inbuilt car operating software. There's a slide on BMW as well over the next few minutes that we'll look at. What have all these devices actually got to talking to each other? People who were not here yesterday, hands please. All right, not too many. So you can probably check with your friends. If you don't have an idea on the IoT, it was covered very well in detail by Mr. Pramod yesterday, so I'm going to skip that. This is my version of the definition. It's a heterogeneous network of things, which is essentially hardware, and software running on those things, within which data can actually be sensed, analyzed, and transmitted. So sensors is a key thing. When you're talking about the IoT, all these devices would be having sensors to actually pull data, analyze it to some extent, send it over to the next device. There was an excellent video yesterday, in case you missed it. Now, interesting statistic, by 2020, that's 5 years from now, we are looking at 30 billion. Now, I've got multiple versions of this number. Some say 20 billion. IDC says 30 billion. I'm going to go with a bigger number. World's human population is expected to be just 8 billion by 2020. So what we're looking at is each individual would have at least 3 to 4 devices, smart devices, for themselves, all interconnected, hopefully, if the IoT takes good fruition. Okay, so what we're looking at is a technology explosion happening over the next few decades, next few years, in fact. What this means is you're in a car and you're in an accident, okay, on a highway in the middle of the night. Your phone, you wouldn't be looking for it when you're in an accident. Sensors in your car will actually be able to detect, probably accelerometer on your car would actually be able to detect the car's been in a collision, it's turned around, whatever the case. These sensors would use GPS to track your location, which you're already anyway knew probably, using your phone. Using the same GPS technology, it will find out which the closest hospital is. It will send a message using your phone, which is already paired to your car anyway, to send a message over to the hospital, to send you an ambulance quickly. One simple scenario is this. Yesterday we saw a lot in the video, a simple family and how a typical day for them would look like with the IoT in place. Big challenge in IoT is how do we secure it? That's a question that not many people are asking outside of the security circle. As I said, innovation always looks at functionality. Security is something that comes after that from history, this is what I'm saying. Hopefully, if they look at security from the initial design phase itself, there wouldn't be much rework involved. BMW had actually issued patches for a security flaw on their connected drive software. There's a software that comes pre-installed on their cars. A vulnerability in this particular software allowed people to unlock the car doors. There's also the case of Jeep, which we saw yesterday, Cherokee. People are able to turn the engine off. In fact, there's a video on YouTube. The guy is actually driving the Jeep. In fact, you can see it. He said, the music system came on, I didn't do that. The wipers came on, I didn't do that. And he's not able to control the steering or the engine. How scary would that be if you were in that car and there's someone actually looking at you and controlling your car? We saw the case in Vijay's presentation this morning about the baby monitors. I read about that like 3-4 days back. That is as scary as it can get. Imagine your child is being pried on by some guy at the other side of the continent. And there were cases where these guys were actually mouthing not so parliamentary words at the kids who are barely 3-4 months old. That is as scary as things can ever get. So that's one of the scary outcomes of an Internet of Things world. Challenges are many. There's no way we even know where to begin. Complexity, as I said, devices, the hardware, the things is where one of the biggest challenges lies. Each thing is of its own nature. They are heterogeneous. They are not meant to be uniform at all. How do we try to standardize these things? How do we secure them? How do we look at who is in fact going to do this? Who is in fact going to look at designing these things in a secure manner? Standards. Once these devices start talking to each other, something like what IP version 4 and 6 did to the internet world is going to happen to the IoT world as well. We're going to have one protocol, hopefully, for all these devices to actually communicate with each other. That makes it a lot easier for someone to find the vulnerabilities of that protocol, break into the IoT. And monitoring. I do apologize if this line is not very clear. I'll just read it for you. Currently, organizations have SOCs with IPS, DLP, etc. Who will do the monitoring for the IoT network? Again, it's like who's going to monitor the internet? It's a similar question, and it is something that is going to be a long while before it is addressed. Now, the graph in the background, it was referred to me by one of my mentors. You look at this. This is the number of lines of code in a typical iPhone game. I think it's 10,000 lines of code, if I remember right. And the last one out there, that's the number of lines of code in a car operating system. The software that comes with your car. 10 million lines of code plus beyond that. That's how complex a simple system such as a car driving system, I wouldn't say simple, is today. How do you even start securing 10 million lines of code? Where do I even begin? It has to come from the design phase rather than from the operational phase. This is a model for IoT. As Mr. Pramod said yesterday, companies have already started looking at IoT in a very big way. Cisco, IBM, a lot of companies out there. Even TVS Motors is using it in India. IBM has actually given a model for the IoT, and this is very similar to the OWASP model as well. What it says is, you guys know OWASP, right? Right? Open Web Application Security Project. Who doesn't know OWASP? Everybody knows OWASP. Excellent. So OWASP has also come out with a model for the IoT, and both of them have, what both IBM and OWASP have something similar. That is, they're asking you to take a layered approach. Don't try to secure the network as a whole. Look at the various layers in which the network operates. Something like your APS GNDP. Right? So what it says is what IBM says is we have the device. We have a local network, which is your home. It can be a factory. It can be the power grid, whatever it is. And we have the overall WAN, which is probably the internet, or a cloud on which it operates. And finally, a device that is actually tapping into this. Behind the device, an end user. At each layer, apply security at the design level itself. That's what IBM says, and that's very similar to what OWASP has also pushed. It looks at the device, the cloud, the mobile app, etc., etc. So layered approach to securing the IoT. That's it. I'm done. That's my contact details. Any questions? Any questions, any comments? Anything is welcome. Excellent. Okay, so as I said earlier, thank you so much for this forum, guys, and thanks so much for taking your time as well. I've really enjoyed putting these slides together, and I hope you enjoyed seeing them on the stage as well. I hope you have an excellent rest of the session as well. Thank you.
charger